Hi, I'm Dave Adams, and I'm CEO of the Michigan Credit Union League and CU Solutions Group, a national CUSO that provides services to credit unions in areas of technology, marketing, HR solutions, and strategic advisory services. I'm really happy to comment on what I think is unique about credit unions as we celebrate International Credit Union Day. Um, I've been doing what I do as head of a trade association for 23 years in the state of Michigan, 6 years in Washington State prior to that, and a short 3 years as CEO of the Utah Credit Union League. So that's 32 years of being the chief spokesperson for associations in those three incredible, strong credit union states. And as we talk to lawmakers and as we talk to the public about what makes credit unions unique and special relative to the banking industry, it's worth noting that the financial services industry is well over $60 trillion in assets. It's a mammoth, huge industry in terms of employment and customers served. And it cuts across depository institutions, which might comprise a third of those assets. So banks and credit unions now, but includes insurance companies and mutual funds and GSEs that hold the vast majority of mortgage loans and finance companies, captive finance companies. It's a huge industry. And so credit unions are the last surviving not-for-profit sector of that huge industry. And while they hold over $1 trillion in assets, probably well over $1 trillion now, and serve over 110 million members just in the US, that's really a small industry in the grand scheme of things, right? It's less than 2% of the entire financial services industry. It's around 6% of the depository institution pie. And while credit unions hold big market shares in areas of mortgage lending in any given market or auto lending, especially used car loans in any particular market, the fact is that we're not posing any big threat to the huge for-profit providers. And in the depository institution sector in particular, the big money center banks hold a huge market share, something like well over 70% of deposits and assets among the depository institution sector. So the tax-exempt, not-for-profit credit union sector isn't doing any harm to the banking sector. We're keeping them honest. And I can honestly say that having observed some very tough economic cycles in Michigan, such as the decade of 2000 to 2010, where our automotive industry was hemorrhaging jobs and our economy was really suffering, leading into the Great Recession, I've seen Michigan credit unions in particular rise to the challenge. And while our largest bank at the time, Comerica, was relocating its headquarters to Texas for greener economic pastures, our largest credit union at the time, DFCU Financial, was implementing a patronage dividend and was hunkering down to serve consumers and small businesses in Southeast Michigan. And there are numerous other examples of our credit unions, large and small, who not only stuck around, but they rose to the challenge to make the loans that needed to be made, to lend the helping hand. That's the credit union difference. And now during this COVID-19 pandemic and the tough economic circumstances, I've likewise seen our credit unions rally to make Paycheck Protection Program loans in incredible amounts where they weren't even SBA approved lenders previously. They did that knowing that those loans wouldn't be profitable, but they did it because it was something that small businesses needed and our economy needed. We saw credit unions making special emergency loans and waiving fees, giving skip-a-pays in huge numbers, and providing the kind of financial counseling that is trusted by their members. So the credit union difference as we celebrate International Credit Union Day is really that credit unions stick around when the going gets tough. They double down on serving members of all income demographics. And it truly is a service ethos that drives them as opposed to trying to maximize their bottom line or build their capital. The unique difference between credit unions and banks is the structure, and it should always be worthy of our tax exempt status. And that is that We can't raise capital in the equity markets. We don't pay our officers and directors in the form of stock and stock options. It's not part of the model. And so instead of being focused on doing everything to make shareholder equity increase in value and to be profitable, our credit union management teams and boards are focused on serving, stretching to meet service needs, to lend responsibly, and to help people get ahead. International Credit Union Day means a lot to me because it's that one day out of the year where we pause and we step back and we ask this question: what is it that makes credit unions special and unique? And it truly is a great movement and industry to be a part of. What I love about being a part of this industry is the people, first and foremost. I know that sounds cliche, but during my 32-year career as a CEO in those 3 states and working with credit unions across the country, I see the big heart that our credit union leaders have, whether it's leaders of the largest credit unions in the country or in Michigan, or whether it's the very small part-time credit unions and every credit union in between. It's the people, and they care deeply about serving their members and their communities and making sure that credit unions are protected in Congress and with state legislatures, that tax exempt status that is so important is protected, and that we're allowed to modernize our federal and state statutes and operate with balanced regulations so that we can continue to serve. I love the people in credit unions. I love the mission of credit unions. And I love how those two intersect, because I see so many examples of how credit unions, large and small, are mission driven. And there hasn't been a time where that's been more evident than right now during this very tough COVID-19 pandemic and the associated risks that employees of credit unions are taking on in serving their members as essential service providers. And seeing how credit unions are stretching, as I said, to waive fees and to defer payments and to make emergency loans and to help members get through the toughest of economic times. So happy International Credit Union Day.